Jollibee
Hey,
spaghetti, yes or no? Yes or no?
I
saw
don't
you
think
eat it. I saw you
spaghetti
eat
should.
it.
I did eat it. I did eat it. I'm a chef from America. I think that, and I have a lot of. I'm a saucier by trade, so sauce is my forte.
Mm.
Traditional bolognese and traditional spaghetti sauces should not have
Right.
sweet to them.
Oh, hold on.
They should.
Bolognese tend to be a little sweet in some cases, right?
I would say depends on whether you're at Olive Garden or an Italian grandmother's house.
Okay,
That's a good
but
stuff. That's
guys,
a good way of putting it. That's a good way of
you,
putting it.
I hope you guys are hearing how Dagan is saying, "I don't like it," ugh,"
Which
but
way?
he's using words, not
Right,
like
right.
food coming out of his mouth and then back into the same place where you got it at.
You
So
know, I would say for him, good on him because all news is good news. And just like was it I think Nicki Minaj said when she went on and got her Grammy, she said, even the haters download my stuff to talk shit about it.
Right. Well, he did something right,
So
that's for sure.
so if he's going viral, I mean he's literally like he's gonna make 10 grand off that video this month.
Oh,
So
that
like
just pisses
who's
me off, man.
you know what I mean? Like it's like hard to judge it as a content creator because I'm like
Right.
that sucks and you're a POS and you shouldn't do it that way and you didn't realize that you're insulting 19 million people
Right.
in one country.
Right.
But at the same
Right.
time, bro, like good on you,
here
good
we are.
job because it's viral.
But it's not
Because
fair. It's not
because
fair.
here we are talking about
Yeah.
it.
Right.
Right. Totally.
But it's definitely
Totally.
not fair. And like I said earlier, I'm okay with it, but it pisses me off when you're gonna take a fried chicken and dip it in pineapple juice. Get out of here, dude. Seriously.
I mean, technically, when I do my fried chicken or like chicken wings, pineapple juice goes in my teriyaki glaze. But
It's
like,
on the glaze, but you're not dipping it in the juice.
right.
There's a difference, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Hey, if you
Yep.
guys are just joining us and you don't know who this guy is between us right now, he's a world history degree holder, a veteran, current immigrant himself, hanging out in
of
his
the
kitchen right
Philippines.
now, and a ninth generation Floridian with blood ties to the native land rights and pedigree from 1400s. What an intro!
Yes.
What an
Get
intro!
out of
Yes.
here. I mean, you
Yes.
probably
And-
own a quarter of that place, you know?
And I thought
Yeah.
I thought I would share that with you, hanging out at his Bohol kitchen right now. By the way, because there's this thing that Jason wanted to talk to you about. What's itching? What's scratching your socks right now? There's a pebble in your boot.
Yeah.
What is it, Jason?
So the big thing really is for quite a while. That's a good way of. All right. Okay. All right. I see where it's going. It's such a big thing that's been going on really ever since the current President Biden has come in, where he has basically opened up the borders and embraced all these illegal immigrants or migrants into the country. And fine, honestly, okay, sure. You know, it's the land of the free, home of the brave.
Can I pause?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Can I pause right there? So
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
you will never hear me speak positively about Joe Biden. But I do have to correct you in the fact of that, like, so I'm from Florida. The floodgates have always been open. I remember as a child, the boats from Haiti, Dominica, and Cuba, like landing on the beach where we were having a Sunday barbecue, and 100 homies come running up the beach. And that was 30 years ago.
You've seen this up close and personal in on the shores?
If you have grown up in South Florida or ever
Wow.
been to the beaches in South Florida, I mean, last night alone, the Coast Guard caught a $1.4 million offshore boat with 60 Haitians on it last night.
Right.
And that's right near where my old house is. And that's very, very common. So yes, what he did take down Title 42, he did take down a couple other amendments, and he did stop construction of the wall.
Right.
But the wave had always been coming. I will
Correct.
tell you that.
Well,
So
Just
continue.
not
Sorry.
news.
It's always been coming. It's always been an ongoing issue for as long as I can remember. Okay, but I've never seen it basically handing the keys to every single person. You know what I mean?
Maybe because
and
I'm hearing about it now. Only
No,
because it's
well,
on social media now.
it's very simple. What controls the world?
Yeah, money. Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
they're literally incentivizing the thought of doing it. Like I actually just had a laughing conversation with a friend of mine that if I go broke and it doesn't work here in the Philippines, I'm going to fly back to Mexico, drop my passport in a box and mail it home, and walk across the border, get a new name, new passport, a couple $1,000s, a free credit card, and a
Right.
free hotel, and start fresh. Like
It's insane.
got-
Noel actually made a good point about this on the last conversation regarding this. Well, come on in. It's free money, free food, free housing for 2 years. And what we're going to do is we're going to kick out a bunch of people from their own places, close out of school, so you got a place to sleep in. Really?
That's the Filipino spirit.
I think that you know how you have. So first off, yeah, just a quick background for those that are watching.
Right.
Obviously, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate this. I got my degree in world history, wartime studies, and propaganda while in the military, while serving on deployment on the Abraham Lincoln, studying this over the last 500 years in the repetitive motion, and even studying it over the last 10,000 years, be it the Canaanites, the Palestinians, I mean, all over the world. This happens very often.
Yeah.
You know, we're not alone in this. If you look at Spain and how bad they have it right now, Spain has lost half its country,
Right.
and you know they're so close to the tip of Africa, like they just swim across. Basically, I mean, you look at the Canary Islands. I mean, it's all over the place. But for me, I would say that you have to represent it in the fact of like, remember this: they're always going to go after your freedom in order, and when they do that, they're going to say they're doing it in order to protect your safety.
Correct.
And what we have here is a massive security issue. I honestly don't care about migrants coming across because as a chef, I've employed every one of them.
Yeah.
The best dishwashers, the best line cooks, the best prep cooks that I've ever had, the best fish hands on boats that I've ever worked with. Even in the military, you know, some of the guys I worked with were migrants that joined the military to earn a citizenship.
Right.
They work hard, and none of us sitting here are going to go pick potatoes.
No. Well,
Yeah,
I mean, I would. If I have to, I would.
For the opportunity. that
You know
they
what I
have.
mean?
Yeah.
So, but the problem is that the reason now in today's world, post 9/11, post Cold War, post espionage, the reason we have got to put up the wall is national security, and that is an unarguable fact. Like, I will tell you right now, if 3 million people have come across in the last 2 years, I guarantee you 5 to 10,000 of them are sleeper cells. And now I worked in the military. I worked with counterterrorism, joint task force terrorism, counterterrorism units. I've gone on pirate hunts. I've been there, done that with smugglers, Somalis, Saudis, Iranians, Africans. I've seen the good, the bad, and the evil from all corners of the world. And I will tell you right now that in America, Chinese, Shiite Sunni Muslims, and North Koreans, and Syrians, there's probably 20 to 30,000 sleeper cells in America right now today that are literally just waiting for the word activate.
Right. That's a scary thought.
There.
Yeah,
They're
I'm
there.
sure it
They're
is.
in your malls. They're in your shops. They're in your malls. They're at the gas station. You have no idea.
Right.
Let me ask though before we move forward with this, because I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. As I was saying to Jason a while ago, and it's a question: is it really bad now? The sleeper cells and everything that you mentioned, is it bad now because of the sign of the times, or is it only bad now because it's on social media, it's easy access for the news, and it's never been talked about before? Or has it always been equally dangerous?
It's one of those things where society doesn't like the truth.
Right.
Like if you're getting fat, you don't like me telling you you're getting fat, right? No one likes that. No one likes the ugly truth. People don't watch death. They watch fake death on Hollywood. And it has been a thing for a long time. Sleeper cells have always been here. How the hell do you think that the 9/11 job guys got here?
Correct.
So it's something that you've never stopped. Now, I'm a movie buff. Go back to Sicario. Okay, I don't know if you've seen the movie Sicario
Oh
1 and
yeah.
2.
Oh yeah.
Okay, Sicario 2 lays it out there perfectly. The beginning of that movie, the beginning of Sicario 2 should be the campaign ad for the upcoming election, and it should be the financial and fiscal fact of why we need to build the wall and why we need to close the border.
Right.
If you go back and watch Sicario 2 and watch the first 10 minutes of that movie, that's exactly how it is. That's exactly how it is. And that's how it is all the time.
The reality of things is, it's never just closing the border itself is never going to be that easy a thing to do. Like for example, a few episodes ago, Noel and I were talking about a literal 4-foot gap in the border between San Diego, this guy's private property, and Mexico. All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
California will say, and basically told them, we don't have the funds for it. We need to get permission and funding from Congress. And I'm like telling myself, it's a 4-foot gap. I can go to Home Depot and probably buy enough bricks to brick it up myself, and it's not going to cost me $1,000.
There's two obvious facts here. Is number one, it's too late. It's too late.
They're never too late. It's never too late.
No, I mean, they're here. Like, they're here. The problem's already here.
Correct. Yes, but you can plug it.
And number two is, we can secure the border, but it's a political campaign issue, so it's going to take a while. And it's ironic, but do you know how many unemployed veterans there are in the world? There's enough veterans to man the wall. Like if you took every U.S. Army, just U.S. Army, not the other 5 branches. If you took just U.S. Army, there's enough qualified U.S. Army veterans who are unemployed and homeless, who, if you gave them a rifle and a job, we'd have an armed, trained professional in every school in America.
Wow.
That's a good point.
Wow, that's a really, really good point at putting it. And I agree with you 1,000%. In a way, that's why I think a lot of what's going on in Texas as well, how they're protecting their borders and whatnot, you can't blame them for it. You cannot
blame them. You cannot blame them whatsoever. Imagine living in El Paso. Imagine living in Eagle, Texas, and that's where your family heritage, that's where your lineage hails from. And then honestly, like, you got to look at it like, I'm an immigrant right now myself. I'm living in a foreign country. I have to earn it. Tomorrow morning, I have to get up and drive 4 hours to go do my visa extension so that I'm not blacklisted.
Right.
You have to humble yourself and realize that there are people, like, there are Mexican Americans, Chinese Americans, there are immigrant American nationalists who have earned it. They have done their citizenship exams, taken all their courses, gone to school, paid their taxes, and taken 10, 15 years to get this U.S. citizenship. They finally get it, and now these other people get it for free and get paid to do it.
That's where I came from exactly, because as somebody who's been here for over 3 decades, that actually went through the stages and the pattern of trying to get here, it's not easy, and it pisses me off. So all of these people that are coming in illegally, they're getting free housing, free food, free childcare, free health care for the next 2 years, free rent and whatnot. And there's also some of them.
I have to apply for EBT and childcare, and I might get denied because I make more than $1,200 a month.
Exactly. I've been there myself, and it's not exactly a good thing, And
yep.
One of the
side note here, Jason. Side note.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. You just got your passport, like, literally this year or just last year. Have you even ever used it? Has it even been stamped?
No, I just became a citizen last year. Okay, a U.S. citizen finally. That's at my.
You want to hear something? You want to hear something crazy? Dolph Lundgren, after all these years in America, got his citizenship last week.
See, I'm not alone. Decades, Dolph Lundgren. I don't know if you know Noel. He's a very famous actor as well, Rocky and whatnot.
Rocky, yeah,
no, I haven't even used my blue passport. I'm trying to use it this year, but
it's pretty sweet once you have it. Once you have it, man, it's the new e-pass program. I just went through 4 countries last month, and like it's nice to have the blue book.
We're in the process of trying to get that as well, to make it easy. The ID itself as opposed to the passport, But it's hard for me to be really angry about it because yes, it's kind of affecting me. This whole illegal immigrants coming in.
Yeah.
Personally, it pisses me off because one,
Yeah.
I'm busting my ass. I busted my ass to get to where I am, my status here in the country, and then now New York City, for example, they're giving 2 years rent free, $1,700 or $1,700 in cards. Kids are getting diapers, fed, free. Like I said, and a bunch of them right now as well just got arrested for robbery.
Right.
Mm.
Right. And then of
So-
course, we have to still though, we have to go full circle here. If you're going to do a political podcast like this, you have to consider all sides, right?
Yeah, of course.
I am Native American on both sides of my bloodline. I have Calusa, I have Seminole, I have two other types of Native American bloodline from my father and my mother's side. And
Just a fruit
Oh,
cocktail,
again,
man.
again, if you're a walking colonial Eastern European white man, you are on stolen land anyway. So
Right.
there's the whole ethics conversation of like,
Right.
try having this conversation with a Native American on a reservation.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got you.
And
I got you.
and again, you gotta humble yourself. Like, shit, that's a good point. Like, okay,
It is.
you know,
It
like
is.
who's the immigrant, who's the illegal at this point? You know what
Right.
I mean? We killed 35 million of them just to claim that it was our land.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
But
it's
Yeah, it's a good point. It's a good thing that you mentioned that. I mean, despite all of these things that's going on, like who's right or who's wrong, but you're right. Like, hold on a second. Let's go back to where it all really started. Anyway, it's a bit hypocritical if you don't mention it.
right.
That's
It's-
awesome.
What can be done now? So hence I'm like thinking to myself, okay, I'm not really a Trump person to be honest with you, but honestly, considering who the options are right now, I'm kind of waving the red flag and saying, "Make America great again."
Yep. Yep.
Bring it back to the
Um,
purpose or the reason of why
it's-
we came here.
I honestly think that we need if we're going to throw $187 billion to a completely falsehood war in Ukraine that we should have no part of right now.
Right.
There's
I agree
there's
1000%.
if you took I think it was 0.03% of that money, you could fund all the homeless, jobless veterans for 10 years to man the wall.
Jesus Christ. Can you imagine?
So there's
Like,
here's the thing. There's a problem. There's solutions, except we don't
Mhm.
want to explore those solutions because
It's all
there's another
political.
agenda.
well,
Yeah,
I grew up with Magic School Bus, so I'm all about exploring here. Okay, like let's I just explored half of Bohol today. I did 300 kilometers today on the bike.
Nice.
You've got to. We have to build the wall because we're getting to a point where it's going to be like Children of Men style movie. I don't know if you've ever
Yeah.
seen Clive Owen's movie
Yeah, of
Children of
course.
Men.
Yeah.
Like the walls need to come because everyone else is building the wall.
Yeah.
And that's the simple, like how we have a nuclear deterrent, right? The nuclear deterrent is that everyone has nukes.
Mm-hmm.
That's the deterrent. So the immigration deterrent is, I mean, look at Venezuela, what they've just done. They locked up 97,000 gangsters in 3 months. They had to kill a couple thousand of them to get there. But now their murder rate went from the highest in the world to the lowest in the world in 3 months because they took drastic measures. We need to build the wall.
It takes
and-
one guy to take that lead. I apologize for cutting you off, but
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Venezuela's
Go ahead,
perfect. Yeah, Venezuela really perfect example right there. He did what he had to do in a way, just like what Duterte was trying to do before.
Right. There's a million other things that guy needs to do. Venezuela still has no financial system. They still have no
Correct.
healthcare system. They still have no food and infrastructure to feed their famished people.
Right.
And they still have MS-13 ruling the woods and the jungles. But at the same time, like he did do one thing right, and it's very tough because but even then the House Senate of Venezuela continues to revote that emergency act in every 30 days. So it's not like he took over as some kind of righteous king. They're
Right.
voting to allow him that overall authority every 30 days.
Right.
And the wall has to be built. It's got to be built. And we need CCTV up and down the whole thing. We need drones. We've already invested. Growing up in Florida in St. Augustine, I watched Northrop Grumman build all the Predators, all the drones. And then I moved to Seattle and got stationed in Everett and watched
Hold on.
Boeing build the
I
rest of them.
apologize for cutting you off, but are you allowed to say this stuff? Some of that stuff.
I would never say anything that I'm not allowed to say.
Okay, all right. I'm just making sure. I don't
not only do I have, I've been studying and taking a little bit of PR training lately, and I also have plenty of training when it comes to saying what I'm cleared to say or not. And I also lost my certain level secret clearance a few years ago because it was just time. And I didn't maintain it, so I could care less. Aliens exist. They've already said that in Congress. What do I?
Right.
But yeah, no, it's got to happen, man. The wall has got to happen. There is an issue there.
We need somebody to take that stand. We need to take that. There needs to be that one person that stands up in front of everybody else in Congress. Yeah, it needs to be done.
But it has
who's
to
gonna
be.
do it?
The problem is that we as a country in the United States, and I know I'm sitting in the Philippines right now, and I left because of the Biden thing. Like Oprah and all them said, and The Rock said that when Trump would get in office, they would never come back to the States. Well, they all sat there and enjoyed their Hollywood life. Yeah. When Biden got in office, I left. So at least one of us can walk the walk and talk the talk.
Right.
But the problem is that we allow ourselves as Americans to separate church and state and separate state and federal. And we allow states to maintain their own sovereignty and their own infrastructure and their own government. And if we're going to do that and wait and let it play off like it is with Governor Abbott and Biden, we're never going to get anywhere. It does have to be an overall authoritarian federal move. It has to be, because there's 6 states.
Right.
There's 6 states, and two of those states are as blue as it gets. Mm-hmm. And they're never going to put that wall up if you don't make it happen.
Right.
When you walk the walk, talk the talk, you are idol or lods.
Lods.
I mean, it's something that's really been in my head as I see it. It's been brewing every single day here. The news up and down, the money that we're spending as taxpayers providing. I mean, for crying out loud, Chicago is spending $95 million of excess money from the COVID pandemic to create housing and support for the migrants.
So I have a question. Do either of you know who Peter Santarello is?
I've heard of, but not too familiar.
Peter Santarello is pretty much the OG Yoda in today's world of direct, raw journalism. He's a vlogger. He's a genius. All he does, he self-markets. Everything's his own thing. He walks around with a GoPro. That's all he uses, a GoPro and 2 DJI mics. And the guy is averaging 20 million views a week right now.
Okay, yeah. Say his name again?
Yeah.
Say his name
Peter
again?
Santanello. I've seen this guy, yes. I have
Peter Santarello. And now he did 2-part series on the border.
Mm-hmm.
And then he did a 2-part series on Chicago and Detroit and New York on the migrants coming there and what they're dealing with. And we don't have time to go in and tell the whole story, but I highly recommend anybody who's watching this podcast, you go watch the 2 border episodes that Peter did. And he did them one with DHS and one with the sheriff in Arizona who maintains part of the border wall. Mm-hmm. And it was mind-boggling. Like, you got to see things in his hour-long episodes that the news will never show you. Ever.
Yeah.
And then when he did the Chicago episode and showed, like, do you know that every police precinct in Chicago is the ones now housing the migrants?
Yeah, I heard that. I mean, in New York City, schools are being vacated to do that.
Well, so if you watch Peter's episode, he actually shows it. Like, he's there with the police department chief in Chicago, and they go around from station to station, and all day long they're outside camped out, pissing in the street and throwing things at people, and then at night they allow them to camp and sleep in the station. If you have a problem in Chicago and you need to get to a police station, you can't even get in the door right now.
Right. I can't even imagine. It's now all of these cities that are creating housing and whatnot for these migrants, providing food, shelter, yada yada yada. So they're running out of money. So guess what they're doing? They're literally repacking up these buses, taking them into cities, and just letting them out. Letting them
Yep.
out. Right now in
Yep.
San Diego, the biggest the city that basically started doing it, bus after bus going into different parts of the city, just letting out all these migrants, and then
Yep.
that's it. And then what? What's going to happen? It's who's going to take care of all these people? I don't understand. I understand that they did their countries.
It's
They don't want them
it.
back, but why is it why is it our responsibility?
Well, because we opened the border and we incentivized it.
Exactly. But
We incentivized it. We're incentive like not
it's
even the fact
not
that we
right. It's
incentivized
not
it.
fair.
We like that we incentivize homelessness more than we incentivize jobs.
Mm,
Like
Mm.
I've
in
never
most
heard that.
states, and in most blue states, I can make more money and have better health benefits if I claim indigent and homeless, like homeless and jobless.
Mm,
I get full benefits, full pay, EBT, WIC. I get groceries, I get food, I get housing, I get medical
right.
insurance, and all I have to do is say I'm jobless and homeless.
Right.
That's how
But
you game the system.
the moment I get a job, I lose all
Mm.
of that. The moment I
Correct.
get an apartment, I start having to pay.
Yeah, but that's why nobody looks for jobs, because why would they?
Yep.
Why
Yep.
would they? It's literally
Yep.
taking over the system and taking advantage of it. And I'm sorry, but we're
Yep.
paying for it. Taxpayers are paying for it, and it sucks, for people like us as
Yep.
well. I'm an average guy that makes an average wage and whatnot, and it doesn't help that all what's going on. It's also raising all the prices everywhere else, from food, from gas to gross and whatnot. I
So it's painful, man. It's painful to watch, and I'll tell
it
you a different
is
experience with it. I was living in Seattle in
right,
2017. I had my own seafood poke and sushi shop. I had
nice.
just opened. I had the number one shop for seafood and sushi and poke in Seattle, and I actually was the number one poke shop in the country at that point.
Get
I
out.
had I had an unlimited budget. I was buying whole bluefin tuna and flying them in from the Tzatziki market every week and carving them up a showcase. I had an amazing setup, and I was hiring the best of the best that I could find in town.
Hmm.
And our wages were highly competitive. And I think 6 weeks into opening, King County, which is Seattle,
Mhm.
dropped the gavel and went from $9.75 an hour to 16 an hour
Oh, Jesus
overnight.
Christ.
Overnight.
Because
And
No warning whatsoever?
no, there was a warning, but it was brief, and we thought that it was going to appeal, and we thought that it was going to be a inclination thing where they go up 50 cents every 6 months or whatever like that.
Yeah.
And
I
so
mean-
basically and they were like, "Oh, this is to protect small business." Every
No, it
single
doesn't.
small business, every single small business in the city basically went under in the next 6 months.
Yeah.
Because the corporate entities had to match it. There was the law.
Yes,
They said
course.
they said that the only people we're directly affecting in this policy and law is corporate entities with over 500 employees. So that's all the big corporates: Starbucks, McDonald's, all that.
Yeah.
So McDonald's and Starbucks started paying 16 to 18 an hour minimum. My guys were making 12 to 15 an hour
Mhm.
starting with full benefits. And the next day I had to compete with McDonald's and Starbucks. I had one kid who was like, "I'm going to go across the street to Starbucks, make $19.50 an hour and work half as hard."
Mhm.
And I said to him, I said, "Bro, I can't argue with that, and I can't
Right.
match it."
You can't.
and-
You can't.
When you combine that type of inflation and hypocrisy with the border control and the migrant population, in my opinion, if we're going to fly a flag in BC, it better be upside down at this point.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a harsh reality
This one right
to
here,
even
that
accept.
one right
Yeah.
there.
It but it might happen. Who knows?
But
I
I like what
can't.
you said a while ago about the both the border and I guess the inflation. Paying your wages to your employees about
Mhm.
it all happening under the guise of what, safety, under the guise
We
of
will
like,
all
oh,
we will always persecute your freedom in the righteous way of saying that we're going to protect you. Like they're
but
always
we're
going to come
protecting
after
you.
your freedom in order to protect you. That's what they'll
Mhm.
say.
Mhm.
Always, always. Like they're gonna come after the gun rights and your Second Amendment right, so that you don't get shot. And like, wait a minute, hold on. That's the whole point, is that I can protect myself. Well,
Right.
in
So
order to
you're taking the
protect you, we're
protection
going to
away.
take your guns.
Right.
Right.
Listen,
Which
Right.
I don't want
doesn't
this.
make sense.
Having said that, I don't want this conversation to go into like a abuse and like manipulation and that kind of thing. But that reminds me of, let's say, a parent that would say, "Oh, no, don't go, don't." Let's say wife and I had a divorce or what. It's like, no, don't see your mom because I need to protect you, or vice versa. Mother says, "Oh, don't see your dad because you can't really have to spend time with him because you never really know who he's hanging out with. You need to spend more time with me." And then, so therefore the other parent doesn't get to see the child doesn't get to see the other parent, all under the guise of, I'm protecting you, I'm the protecting mother.
Ugh,
I'm
it's
with you, bro. Father's rights
yeah.
movement. Father's rights movement.
It's
Listen, Dagan,
It's
before
a
we
real
let you
thing.
go, is there anything else that you wanted to show Jason? Because I wanted to segue towards millennial word of the day, and I got one
yeah.
for you guys.
Okay.
Okay.
You feeling it?
I would say that to knock on wood, ironically here, I don't know if you noticed, but the Philippine government is considering a Second Amendment style clause and arming Filipino citizens for the upcoming war. I don't know if you saw that article this week.
Yep. No, I haven't
There,
seen that one. I just heard.
there,
This is the
there
first
is
time I'm hearing it.
massive talks. There's
Tell us
massive
about
talks
it.
in the Philippines right now about arming the Filipino people and allowing Filipinos to purchase guns, long form rifles, and all that stuff in
Right.
order to protect themselves for what's coming.
Yeah, to loosen up the gun
Are,
restrictions that
are
we have.
what's your take on that, real quick? Is that something that's scaring you? That since you're there as an expat as well?
And then all the guns
No,
are made
baby,
in
not at
China.
all. Not at
All the
all.
guns
I
are
think
made in
it's
China.
I think it's genius. Like if you go back to World War II, right, and go back to what Admiral Yamamoto said after December 7th, 1941, when they bombed Pearl Harbor,
Right.
his war cabinet greeted him and said, "We won, we did it. It's a great success." And he said, "Not at all, my friends. We have just woke the dragon, and we will never, ever, ever be able to defeat that dragon, and we will pay with it with our very lives."
Right.
And they
Right.
did. And they did. And I think people have to remember why, at the end of the day, does nobody mess with America?
Mm-hmm.
Because every one of us have a gun.
Right. Right.
So if you armed every Filipino citizen, granted, there are some, and I'm not going to say this in a rude way, there are some lesser educated humans in this country that carry
As
a
it
little
is
bit of
over here.
emotions.
As it is over
Right,
here.
right. And I would not want some of these backwoods yokels who drink Red Horse and go screaming down the street at night to have a gun. You know what I mean? Those,
Exactly.
you know what I mean? So like, every citizen in the world needs the right to own their own gun, but there still needs to be screenings, and there needs to be
absolutely
all this stuff. And all that does is open up jobs. All that does is open up jobs. Screeners, therapists, all that stuff.
But it's also human nature that it's also going to cause a lot of issues where there's going to be some innocent lives that are going to be gone too soon, no matter what.
Yes and no. But at the end of the day, like, look, I said this when I was in Bali. Like Indonesia has no guns, right? Me and 12 dudes could take over Indonesia tomorrow. They've got no military. Look at some of these countries with no military. Like, it's a joke. It's a joke. Like, why do you think that the Philippines needs 9 U.S. bases on its land and sovereign soil?
Right.
Because Big Brother's got to be here with the big guns and the big muscles, because you don't have the guns yet.
Right.
You don't have the guns, and so like I think weaponizing the civilian population. I think it's a smart plan, but I think they got to do it carefully.
Oh, very carefully, especially in the Philippines as well. Unfortunately, like you said, not everybody's exactly educated into things. You know what I mean? People could get hurt.
I don't like the slack-jawed yokels, man. They don't need to be having it.
Spitting some
So
truth, spitting
Yeah.
some facts.
Listen, thank you very much for jumping in and chiming in with regards to this. This is pretty much the very reason why I wanted your 2 cents in it. To be honest with you, you know.
thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate it. I'm really honored to be here. And offline, I have some very big updates for you guys that I cannot put out publicly for
Yeah.
5 more weeks.
Nice,
So,
nice. Looking
Hold
forward
on.
to that.
I'm not about to cancel you yet. If you do have another minute, I'll put you in on this word of the day for us.